Hi, I'm Amber, and welcome to the Lone Star Keto podcast. And today we have a very special guest with us coming on again, Tracey McBeath. She's going to update us and give us some more information and talk about her new book right here. It's a beautiful book. She is a health and healing coach. Welcome, Tracey.
Oh, thank you so much, my friend Amber. It's so lovely to be here with you again. I can't wait to chat.
Yes, I'm so excited. Yeah, Tracey is like so awesome. She is doing so many different things. But first, can you give us a brief background? I know you've been on before, you've kind of given the long story, but if you could kind of give a brief bio for those who have not met you yet.
Yes. So, yes, I'm a health coach. I call myself the health and healing coach because the healing part of it was very much a part, excuse me, of my journey, and now is a lot of the work that I do. Sorry, I came into the low carb space at about 40. Up until then, I was a personal trainer, but I became a very fat personal trainer, and I couldn't figure out why. So I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and at that point, so that was nearly 9 years ago now, and that was the point I turned my life around and thought, well, there's something missing here. What am I misunderstanding? I'm doing everything I'm told to do. I'm eating less, I'm moving more, but it's not happening for me. So I found Low Carb and Prof Notes and all those incredible people that teach within it. And I haven't looked back. And, a couple of years in, I decided that I had to, really, really help people give people really, I suppose, what I see as more accurate information for them to make their decisions on, not information that's just one-sided and based on very poor science, but information that is based on really good science and help people to make those changes in their life. And, there's so many obstacles that we come up against. And I think that's the healing side of it for me. We can all learn, we can all get the knowledge, but what do we do with that knowledge? How do we make it impact our everyday decisions? And that's where I guess I specialize now, and I absolutely love the work that I do.
I love it. And gosh, you are so busy. Wow. I thought I did crazy stuff, but you have like a lot out there. Okay. Last time you were on here, you had been diagnosed with Hashimotos and you decided to try a carnivore diet. So give us an update on that and your whole progress. What's going on?
Yeah, right. Well, so that would have been nearly 2 years ago. They'd be coming up to 2 years ago that happened. And it was life-changing. So another massive curveball, and totally changed the direction that I was looking in. Hashimoto's is definitely hereditary. My mum and my grandmother had it. And I guess I sort of thought that I wouldn't get it. I don't know. It just never occurred to me, that it would be something that I'd be diagnosed with. Looking back, I think I had all the symptoms in my 30s, very much so. In my 40s, I think low carb was a bit protective. It kind of meant that I could sort of get along with things. I think it healed things to a degree, but I went and got checked when I thought I was going through menopause because I was starting to get hot flashes and all these sort of different things. My sleep went out the window. Anyway, I was in menopause and came back as Hashimoto's. So I thought, okay, well, I can't just accept that. I just think there's more I need to see around that. And I did work with Michelle Doka for 6 months, who's a naturopathic doctor and transformational coach. And, she really helped me look to things that I had really not wanted to look at. A lot of the work we did really centered around the emotional healing because I hadn't realized how much that was impacting my health. And she did help me transition to carnivore. And, I'm pretty much 90% carnivore now. I just love it. I just can't imagine going back to, eating all those oxalates and lectins that I didn't know, were causing such an issue for me. I'm in remission. I have no symptoms. All my thyroid panel is exactly where it should be. Which is fantastic. I'm very much aware, I think, now when I start to let things get away from me. And when for me, that was more around my reaction to things. And that's the healing part of things. There was a lot that I just didn't realize I was reacting to and sitting, inside me. And there was all this rumination going on. And a lot of it came back to really me, that little girl wanting to be loved and not being rejected. And I think because I hadn't wanted to look at that, it was actually dictating a lot of the stuff in my life. And I didn't want it to do that anymore. So yeah, I had to look at that, and it was scary and it was confronting. Yeah. But ultimately changed my life and has freed me from so many things that I never thought I could be free from, just simply what people think of me. How much does that dictate how we live our life? I mean, it totally dictated my life until I saw that what other people thought about me had nothing to do with me. It was all about them.
Absolutely. Oh gosh. That is so incredibly true about, healing from that, because we do have all these misperceptions, going on, and what people think about you. Wow. I will say I definitely fell in that trap too. But as I get older, my give a, what is kind of, but still some things like will happen, like online, a comment, just the rudest, just ugliest comment. And you're like, all of a sudden it like hits you. And then you go back into that mode, like what you've had to kind of work through. And then you realize, ooh, maybe I'm not 100% yet. Maybe there's something still right there in my little psyche that I need to work on, but it does get better.
It does get better, but I think too, I think that's just such a normal part of being human. A part of my healing has seen that so much of what I was experiencing was very, very normal. I mean, if you think about, the tribal nature of human beings, I mean, we're just tribal creatures in a modern world. And if we were kicked out of the tribe, we died. It was so, so important to be included and to do those things to be accepted. Now, of course, in the modern world, it doesn't necessarily help us. But the thing is, our tribe is massive. There's no barriers, right? We put something out there and people can throw rocks at us straight away from anywhere around the world. They're people that we don't even know who they are most of the time, right? Now, we can we can be hooked by that because that's part of how our brain is set up. It's set up to protect us, to look for danger, to stay part of the tribe. And we can be hooked in on that and let that dictate us. Or we can say, well, you know what? Thank you. I know that's what you're trying to do, but I'm going to unhook from that. And I'm not going to follow that. And I know I'm okay, but I still think, there will be times where it will come up. I still get that familiar, if I read someone make a criticism of what I do and, and I do think, thank you. It's normal. I know what you're doing, but I'm okay. I don't need you to protect me, and I'm going to let that go. And, you move on much quicker.
It is true. It doesn't mean it doesn't sometimes kind of come out of the blue, especially when they attack your beliefs or, or where you're trying to do something really positive and they got to spin it negative. And you're like, why? Just why you feel the need to do that? Is your life that unhappy? Really?
Well, that's right, because they're actually trying to make themselves feel better. That deflecting and spitting it out onto others. They're sitting in something that they're not even aware of pain, and just simply them doing that, they get that relief temporarily because they've put you down or they've thrown a rock at you. But ultimately, it's just a temporary relief. It's an illusion. It's not really actually fixing anything within them. And they go off and, they've still got to live in that, but the job we have is really to have that concrete blanket. So it just deflects straight back off us, and we get better at that, but it doesn't mean that they don't find the chinks sometime and get in, because we're human beings.
Exactly. And, you spoke about fitting in with a tribe. That was, if you didn't, you kind of died. And now it is different, but we still do have a tribe, really, if you think about it. And to be honest with you, sometimes I really don't want to be in a tribe. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, then it's almost like you become part of a cult. And I'm not talking tribes as far as carnivore, keto. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking in general as humans, as populations, what's going on in the world today, and it just, to me, gets harder to want to fit in. And it's like, you know what? I want to be weird. I'm just going to not fit in. I'm just going to
Mm,
try harder not to fit in, because
yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it,
Yeah,
but
I love that. I do think that's part of the healing journey. That's possible in the world we have today. It wasn't, right, back in those tribal days, but today it is possible. And I think it is freeing to do that, to see
oh,
that, we don't need to be, we don't need to change who we are to fit in anymore. We need to just be who
yeah.
we are, and we will attract people that resonate with that. And it's not going to be everyone, but it doesn't need to be everyone. It's going to be who it is. And that will keep shifting and changing. And I think that's really exciting to be in that space.
It is. And, again, I am not talking like, carnivore keto or anything like that. Although there are some toxic in that too,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
it's great. I keep getting this hair. I'm sorry, but it is important to have the support and to have people who have like goals and, that kind of thing, who aspire to greater things. You want to be part of that. So it can help you grow and you can help them grow. So it's like the symbiotic kind of relationship. And that is the beautiful part about being part of a tribe. But as far as like what you're saying, changing yourself to fit in or pretending you're somebody that you're not. Okay,
Mm.
I am not willing to do that. I'm just not going to do it. I've
Mm.
always been kind of stubborn that way anyway, and I'm really stubborn now. So, that's just not going to happen. I don't care. I just don't care. I will not do it. I will not do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Good for
like,
you. Yep.
it's,
Yep. And I think it is great when we see that we don't have to do that. So yeah, I think it's wonderful. Yep.
well, I am thrilled to hear about the remission of your Hashimoto's. That is fantastic. And you mentioned the healing. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like what did you do to heal the other part? Obviously, the diet played a huge part, but the other part you spoke about, the healing from within. How
Yeah.
did you approach, like, if somebody wanted to heal, like really heal from the inside out, not just diet or exercise, but really healing? What what can they do? Like, what are some steps? Like, how did you approach it?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very unique journey. I think deciding that you want to do it is the biggest part, because I really think we're always up against the pull from our habitual brain for us not to do that. It really doesn't want us to see something new. It doesn't want to change. Of course, when we bring it back all to that safety aspect of our tribal brain, we can understand that and see that we can step away from that. So that's a big part of it, the illusion of what we believe and who we are, and all that is created from our experiences, obviously. And that's obviously unique to me, as yours is unique to you. Nobody on the planet has the same experience, which means we're all filtering the world through our very unique lens. So understanding that's really important. So to talk about me personally, I think I grew up in a family where a very loving family. This is nothing against my family at all, but I think no matter what family you grow up in, as little children, you tend to take on certain beliefs and try and understand, right, your little world around what happens to you. And I have a grandfather who was an alcoholic, and I have a brother who has been addicted to drugs and gambling and lots of other things. And I think that really did impact my upbringing. And, not that, as I said, not that my mum did anything other than the best she could, but I think there was a little girl who saw that, I was responsible for my mother's well-being. So there was a real codependency. I'm not sure if you've come across, codependency, but it is very common in families where there is an addiction. And it was something I had never, ever been aware of until Michelle pointed it out to me. And she suggested a book called by Melody Beattie, Codependent No More. And it was a phenomenal book that, really started to, for me to find the courage to really look at my codependent beliefs that I had about me and everybody else around me. And it's just a step-by-step process, starting to see, well, they're band-aids, they're beliefs, they're things we take on for protection. But we have to start to see that we don't need that protection anymore, that underneath all of those stories and band-aids and things that we created in our life, we're okay, that well-being's within us. We've got this inside us, and all we need to do is peel off the layers to be able to connect with it. And, you know, so first of all, we need to know that exists within us. And then we need to have that courage to allow things to fall off. And it's not a comfortable process. It's very scary. And it feels like you're stepping out without a safety net. You're just taking that step over the cliff and you have no idea where you land. But you have to trust the process and know that you will be okay. And gradually you do start to feel okay, and you do start to see that you don't have to follow the same behaviors, and you don't have to follow the same reactions to things that have happened to you in the past. And, you know, it's not like you need to create a new story. You just need to see you can let go of the old one and allow the process of living and the connections that you have in each and every day to present something new to you, which if you don't step away from what you're living in, you won't see. You'll miss it. So in terms of, I mean, this is probably, I have clients that work with me for 6 months, you know, in coaching to see this. It's not a quick fix. It's not something that we're used to, because we are obviously pushed in this world, want everything now, everything quickly. This process isn't like that, which can be frustrating. And then there can be a lot of inner talk saying, you know, you're not worth it. It's too late for you. What's the point? You know, all these unhelpful voices and thoughts that will go on in our mind to convince us not to do it. And really, we just have to kind of turn away from all of that and just do it anyway. And when we do that, and we just take one step and know that all we need to take is one step, and the next one will definitely show up. You know, it just plays out for us, and there is a guiding hand pushing us, and it's something bigger than us. I mean, there's something bigger than us here. I mean, I'm not religious at all, but there is a guidance system in everything on the planet to just know how to live. And, you know, that's what I call our inner GPS system. Or, you know, when I'm talking to teenage kids, I call it the superpower. That, you know, this is a superpower we've all got within us that's there, it's available. We just have to tune into it. And to do that, you know, we have to tune out of this. It's trying to help, but it's not really helpful mind and overthinking mind. And we'll see, you know, what else is available to us. So, yeah, I mean, it's a process pretty hard to do on your own. I think it's definitely worth, you know, getting someone to help you. You know, I think we all have blind spots. We all can see in others before we can see in ourselves. And, you know, we're our own harshest critic too, aren't we? And
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you hit on this too, is that it is an extremely uncomfortable thing to do, to face your, if you want to call them demons, whatever, because we are so conditioned to avoid pain at all costs. But sometimes, gosh dang it, you got to just sit with the pain a little bit. You got to kind of, you know, work through that. And sometimes pain brings the best things, because, you know, that pain pleasure little system needs to be in balance at all the times, you know. And when you're always hitting this pleasure thing, you know, you got to have some of that pain in there too, you know, to kind of even it out. And it's not fun. It's not fun. Nobody likes that. But sometimes it's just so necessary. And I do agree with you. I think you can, I suppose, theoretically do it on your own, but it's so much better when you have somebody there supporting you, guiding you through, somebody who's been through it, somebody who, you know, a professional who has done this many times and they kind of know how this works out. I think it's so important. And it is a huge part of healing. And I don't think we give it enough credit. You know, we're too busy. Oh, give me the drug. You know, oh, try this diet, do this, but we don't focus enough on the inside part, which is huge. It affects everything in your body. It does. I mean, your brain, your digestive system, it affects everything, you know.
Well, it does, but it's actually, you know, we're actually only ever operating from what we're, you know, our thinking, our own personal thinking it's driving every decision we make in every single day, every single decision. And the feeling that we sit in our body is always coming from our thoughts. It's such an illusion that it looks like it's coming from something out there. But it's our thinking about the something out there that's creating the feeling we sit in our body. Yet we get to work on trying to change everything that's happening out there instead of looking in here to the source of the feeling. So the freedom comes when we do that. And, you know, I'm mentoring coaches now, and my personal ones, but also within the Nutrition Network. And part of growth as a coach is actually holding that mirror up to yourself. And I said to these coaches, if you want to become a better coach, you have to you've got to look in the mirror. You've got to be aware. You've got to notice your triggers, and you've got to not blame the outside world for those triggers. They're coming from within you. If you know, that is the biggest advice I would give you to continually learn, is to continually look within. And the more you see within you, the more you can show others. It's just, you know, you can learn everything from a textbook. You can be the top scientist. You can have all the knowledge in the world. But if you have no idea on how to impact others or how to light up a path for them, they will not come to you, and they'll not stay with you, and they'll have no impact.
I totally agree with you. And, you know, something that's recently happened to me, like we were discussing earlier, that I'm specializing in food addiction. So I've been taking training and et cetera. And it's made me look inside myself, and I see a whole nother level that it wasn't that I denied that I had an addiction, really, but I didn't really understand fully how it affected my whole life, basically. Yeah. And I look back now and I'm like, oh, that's why I did that. Oh, that's where my eating disorders came from. Oh, this is what, and so it just like clicks everything. And then it makes you really turn everything inside yourself and start seeing it through a different lens, you know, and learning more about yourself. And, you know, God, I thought I knew it. No, I'm still learning. Still learning.
Yeah. And that's the thing with those layers, you know, they're endless. They're infinite. You know, it's not like you'll get to a point and you're like, oh, wow, that's it now. You know, it doesn't happen like that. It's this constant, which is exciting. And I say, you know, for the rest of my life on this planet, I hope every day I see insight, I see something new. And if you're open to it and if you're looking in that direction, you will see it. And it, you know, like we can only see what we see. You know, it's such a big part of healing, particularly, you know, around addiction, is knowing that you always do the best you can at the level of awareness you have. Always. Because we're designed to protect ourselves. We're designed to look after ourselves. And, you know, I've talked to you, but I'm sure I've talked to you about this before, but I hate the whole self-sabotage thing, because it's just misguided love. It is misguided self-love. We don't understand, we don't even know we have the opportunity to make other choices because we haven't seen it yet. So how can it be self-sabotage when we're only operating from what we can see? And that's the beauty of doing that transformational internal journey. You are opening up. It's like you open up a door to a world that you never knew existed before.
Yeah. You know, when you put a positive spin on it and it being exciting to, like, you know, learn these different things. And I agree with you, because, you know, I wasn't upset with what I learned, but it just kind of pulled a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together. And so I'm missing less pieces now, because it just all kind of this wow, you know, and so that is exciting, because you can't go back and change anything, but you can understand yourself better. And you can, instead of blaming yourself, instead of thinking you were broken, instead of, you know, those kind of things, it makes you go, oh, okay. And then it gives you self-compassion. And, you know, that's kind of self-care right there, which we'll be talking a little bit about that later. But right.
I love the puzzle pieces. I love that. I think that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, it really is. And that is a cool thing. So I'm with you there. I get the excitement over it, where I probably would have before said, yeah, no, that's not so fun. But it kind of is, you know, it makes me happy, because now I can explain a lot of things where I just thought maybe I wasn't a good person, or maybe, you know, whatever, I was broken, whatever it was. And no, no, that wasn't it. It's some things that happen, and it just, and then my addictive brain and trauma and, all these things that just kind of cause things. And then you kind
Yeah.
of put it all together and you're like, okay, now I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying I can change it, but moving forward, at least I understand myself a little
Yeah,
better, and,
exactly.
and then when you find yourself in a situation again, you're like, okay, yeah, no, I know why I'm doing that. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the beauty. That is a beauty. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into some of the projects you're working on. Tell me about this nutrition network. This sounds fascinating.
Yes, it's been fascinating. So, gosh, it must have been middle of last year. They reached out to me to see if I would like to be involved in creating their first certified coaching program for coaches, which is the Nutrition Network. A lot of their programs are online, so you watch videos and then get your certification. But they had done a medical practitioner certification, which is a group of 12 practitioners that it's online live training for 3 months, a really intensive program. And they wanted to bring in the same for coaches. So they asked me and 3 other coaches from around the world if we'd like to be involved. And, basically said, if you were coaching, and at that time I had started coaching other coaches, mentoring coaches, what would you like them to know? What are the things that would be really helpful in a program? And so we all submitted it and they put it together. And yeah, it started like October last year, 3 months. There was 12 coaches. Some had been coaching for a long time. Some had never been coaching, but there was obviously a requirement process for people to be able to do it. And it was incredible. It was a lot of 4 a.m. mornings for me being in Australia and, the market not being here, but it was
Yikes.
just fabulous. I got to coach 5 of the 10 weeks where, I took them for a 2-hour session. And then obviously there was work that, sort of went on and mentoring, and it was phenomenal. And they all passed with flying colors. And Bitten Johnson was one of the other coaches. So she taught the
Love
addiction.
it.
And that's how we connected. And, I'm very lucky. She's asked me to be involved in her program, which
So excited about that.
Yes, very excited. So what I taught within the Nutrition Network is insight-based coaching. So it is this stuff that I believe really brings change. Some people don't need it. Some people, they will just get the information and the knowledge and they can easily make the changes they need in their lives. But they're not the people that generally seek out coaches. So the people that seek out coaches, they've got stumbling blocks, they've got barriers. And I would say every single one of my coaching clients now, like non-coaches, just normal clients, have been trying low carb keto or whatever, their version of it. And sometimes for 2 years and they can't make it work. So, what are those, why is that? What are those missing pieces? And to me, that's where insight coaching has that huge amount of, it has that potential for impact. And that's what I brought into the program, and that's what I taught these coaches, and that's what I'll be, sharing. Obviously, a 2-hour lecture versus a 3-month program, there won't be as much in it with Bitten, but yeah, I'm bringing that into helping her professionals as well. Just it's about impact, and connection. If we don't, as a coach, make that connection, it doesn't matter how much knowledge we have, we won't have a client. So, and that's, it's kind of less concrete, which is why I think people find it harder. And it does require introspective, that turning that mirror onto yourself. But as I said, when you do it with a non-judgmental and a very safe platform, it is just phenomenal. And I've made connections now with those coaches that I'll have for the rest of my life. And yeah, it's very exciting. So Nutrition Network want to continue, really pushing coaching, which I see as the missing link, in change and in health reversal and in getting people healthy again. So yeah, that'll be exciting. It's watch this space as to what I'll be doing there. I'll definitely be doing that program again this year, but there'll be other stuff that, hopefully I'll be involved in getting out there, and that's very, very exciting. But alongside that, I've created this hub, the Low Carb Lifestyle Hub, which is a platform to predominantly push coaching and really help people. It's a free resource people can come to get information and to connect with, I've got coaches from all around the world on that platform. Hopefully you're going to join it too, Amber. And
yes.
Bitten's on there. It's just a place where they can come and find some hope and some new ideas and new connections. And from that, I'm going to be doing little summits. No big summits anymore. I've done my 2 big ones.
I was going to ask about that.
There no more massive ones. I'm just going to do little bite size. I'm calling them healthy bite size summits, and just ask the practitioners that are part of the hub to be part of that. So it's kind of my little side hustle. So I get to that when I've got time.
I love it. I love it. Your summits are fabulous. So I'm glad you're not completely not doing it. I have a question about the Nutrition Network.
Yeah.
Now, for coaches, is that open to any coach, or is there certain requirements, or like can anybody, any coach?
Yes. Well, there is requirements in that you have to have done their advisor training course. I think there is a definite pathway for coaches to get to the point of being accepted to doing that one, because they only take a small number, and it is an intensive, and it is intensive because within that is, their medical team, they bring in that top, up-to-date knowledge as well. So it's a really, really lovely, mix of everything. But I don't know off the top of my head the exact pathway, but I know that there is at least the advisor course, maybe one other of their programs, and you don't have to have had any actual coaching experience. More just have done the work leading up to it. But I don't know what it is. It'll be on their website.
Okay.
Because I know they're definitely going to run it again, and I hope they will have more people. I did, the first one, the pilot one, was obviously, just testing the waters, and there was only 12, but I think there's definitely scope to do more.
Yeah. Well,
so there's a lot of interest.
Good. Yeah. I saw on your Facebook, the graduates, and I was like, what is this? What is this? I got to check into this.
Yeah. Well, I think they will start talking about it a lot more too now that they've got the pilot out of the way. So they obviously wanted, they did handpick quite a few people to do that were obviously interested in doing it, but, handpicked a few people to do it just to make sure, but they were thrilled. I think it just exceeded their expectations, and, but then the coaches are now at the point that a lot of them haven't coached before. They're stepping out, and there's still always more to see and always more to learn. And, what I'm hoping to bring in is a bridging sort of mentoring program on, okay, now you've got this, now what? Now's the doing, and it is in the doing that is the scary part, but that's when we learn the most, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. Okay. So, are you ready to get into the book?
Oh, I'd love to.
Okay. So here's the book right here. Let me see. You have today. You can see that pretty well, right? Yeah. I guess I have too much brightness on mine, but okay, let's talk a little bit about this. I want to know, why did you write this particular book, and what is it about?
Okay, so I wrote this book not thinking it was going to become a book. If I'd have sat down and said I need to write a book, I just don't think I could have done it. It was, I think I thought at some point in my life I would write a book, but everyone has that lofty idea. It was never something that I actively put steps in place to do. But in Melbourne, Australia, where I live, we had one of the harshest lockdowns, although it's not any longer. There are still places still going in lockdowns, but we, for 2 years on and off, had many, many lockdowns because of COVID. And I think we went in about June, July last year, we went into another one. It was about the 7th 2-week lockdown that ended up being, months and months. And I'll never forget it. I was sitting there with my kids, and I felt the familiar frustrations of, here we go again, back to homeschool, back to, my husband not working, back to this, back to that. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to let any of that affect me. I made a really, really strong decision that I was only going to focus on what I could control, and I needed to let go of what I couldn't, because it was just becoming and it still is for many people. But I just thought, no, I'm not helping myself. I'm not helping my kids. I'm not helping anyone by just being a victim to what was being thrown at me. So I thought, well, you know what I'm going to do is create what I called a year of abundance. And I'm just going to show up to I love my Instagram family. I have but virtually met lots of, and yourself included, very beautiful people through Instagram. I really love it. I love it. And I thought, I'm just going to show up every day and just share an insight, just share something I've seen that has really helped me navigate difficult times and helped, particularly in my healing journey, with Hashimotos and codependency and all of that. And I thought, well, I can do that. I know something will occur to me every day. I don't need to overthink it. I don't need to pre-plan it. I just need to sit in it and let something come to me. And it did. And I got to day 100. And just like when I started to do it, the year of abundance, an insight occurred to me that said, you know what? This is it. You've got a book here. You have got a book in these 100 insights. You don't need to do any more. There is so much in here that has the potential to show anybody who reads it and looks at it different possibilities. That's it. Take it off. And I did. I took it all off and I collated it into a book. And all I had to overcome was my fear of being in the arena, putting myself out there. Having to actually do it. I self-published it. I did everything I could myself. Obviously, I had people help me with formatting and different things like that because, I needed help with that.
Yep.
But even the day before it was going to be published, I wanted to pull the pin. I was like, that familiar little girl fear. Yep, came.
I do know.
Yep. And I literally had to just step in and press that button, regardless of all those feelings I was feeling, because I knew that they were just an illusion. I knew that if I paid attention to that, I would never do it. And I'm so glad I just pressed publish and out it went. And it's been fantastic. I've had so much amazing feedback. It's a book that will never go out of date because there are insights around, life and real life. And I've shared from my heart. I haven't tried to make it anything other than what it is. I haven't judged it. I haven't tried to, target an audience. I've just shared what I've seen. And it's not a book that you would pick up and read cover to cover, but it's a book that you can have. Many people have. I know. I've had friends say, I've got it in the toilet, and every morning I'll sit and
I almost said that. Yeah. Chicken soup for the soul. That's what it reminds me of.
Yes. It's so funny. I'm so honored I'm with you every morning in that place. But anyway, I have mine on the coffee table, and it's just that you just pick it up. And as you said to me before we started recording, Abba, something will come up to you. It's not a how to. It's not a telling you anything other than, have you considered this? And maybe you're only seeing it this way because of this. So if you looked at it this way and changed and saw it from this perspective, what could change for you? That curiosity, that just getting curious with anything in your life. And when you do that, something else will occur to you. And that's what it is.
Yeah, I think it's very beautiful. And like I said, I haven't really got to read it, like you said, from cover to cover, but I did go through it and kind of some things kind of hit me. But putting yourself out there like that, I mean, it's hard enough when you're in, you put yourself out there sharing our stories like what we do, but putting it out there, oh my gosh, because I'm a published romance writer, and that first full-length novel for me, that was scary because people are freaking mean and they write reviews. Even some of the reviews, it's like, did you even read the book? Because I'm pretty sure you
probably
didn't.
not.
Based on what you said, makes no sense. But it still hurts you to the core because you poured yourself into that book. And like for me, my first full length, it took a year for me to write that. And so that was my baby. So that is hard. So kudos to you for that. And mine is, it's fiction. Yours is like your heart. You're like putting your heart out there. So that's even scarier, I think, because this kind of to me is an insight into you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. And through that window, then it may be an insight into you. Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
A reflection back. Okay, so if you're okay, I picked out a few things that struck me. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all, if this doesn't, sit with you so well, but it sat with me. Something jumped out at me. So I kind of want to just discuss it and kind of tell me maybe why you wrote that particular thing and what you meant when you wrote it. Okay. So the first one is, and we talked a little bit about this already, about feeling broken. And I have said that to myself a lot in the past. Now I know better, but that's something I think a lot of us do. And I thought I was the only one. But you say you aren't broken and you never have been. Discuss that for us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that makes my heart leap because it's so important, and it's such a part of any healing journey to see that you aren't broken and you never have been. It's only, it really is like, as we've talked about, the illusion of these thoughts that we've created over time about who we are and what we're capable and all we can do. And, a big part of seeing that you're not broken is this connection with this inner wisdom, this inner GPS system that we've got that most people don't know we have. Until I point it out, and get you to think about times when you will have felt it, which, people call it the gut feeling, intuition. Yeah, just that inner knowing. Well, that's there. And I know everybody will be able to think about times when they've felt that. And it feels so different when we're listening to that. Now, our wisdom, our well-being would never, ever, ever, ever tell us we were broken, would never tell us, this is the mind. The mind is generally really rude and really hurtful because it's habitual.
Yeah.
And, starting to just tune out, you don't have to change it. You actually don't. It's actually far easier than people think because they want to get in there and change it and stop these things coming up. Whereas I say, well, they might come up for the rest of your life, but your attention to it can totally shift. So you can totally tune out of that radio station and tune into, a lot more helpful, kind, compassionate wisdom that is within us as well. So yeah, I had to do that. I thought I was broken, but it's so funny because, well, it's not funny, but it's a discussion I have with every client and everybody. And it's such a thing, we feel like we are the only ones going through it.
Yeah.
But it is such a part of the human condition. I honestly believe on some degree, every human being will feel this at some point.
Yeah, I think so too. And, I don't feel that way now, but, until I just went through this whole thing, like what I told you about the addiction, that those pieces kind of fell into place. And then I'm like, yeah, see, I wasn't broken. Yeah. It's kind of like a conversation I had with myself. See, there you go, and you thought you were, but you're not. So yeah. I think that's extremely important for people to understand because that to me, knowing how I felt, and I see it in my clients, it hurts my heart. It hurts my soul, because it's like, oh God, I know that feeling. And that is the worst. That is the worst. So yeah, I think that's a very beautiful section. Okay. So the next one is, I don't eat much sugar. Tell me what you mean by that, because I know what you mean. That's one of my favorite things. I hear that a lot too. And I'm like, okay.
What is it? I think the quote is, I don't eat much sugar, says anyone who doesn't understand that carbohydrates are sugar. I think that's what I wrote.
Yes.
Yeah. So, there are a few nutrition insights in there. There are only like 3 or 4. Most of the book is not about nutrition at all, but nutrition is an important piece of the puzzle. So I didn't want it to be not considered, because I think when we do understand the impact of sugar and carbohydrates on our brain and on our body, it's such an easier shift to start to look at this internal stuff. So I just, it's just such a misunderstanding out there. I mean, there's just bad science that's been constantly perpetuated. And I think a lot of it is that fear of giving up stuff we don't want to give up. So we fall and we keep hold of a belief that actually at the end of the day is not very helpful for us. But again, it's just that illusion. It's just the brain trying to protect you. And I honestly believe that until we see the illusion for what it is, change is very, very difficult. Those beliefs, I'm not going to listen to anything different. That's what I want. I don't want to change. I don't want to, whatever it is. But, again, it's not my job to change anyone, but I want people to have good information to make their decisions on.
Yes, yes. And that's one that always kind of kills me too, because that information is not necessarily mainstream. I mean,
No.
when you say sugar, you think of literally the white granule stuff or cakes and candy, and that you're not thinking about the pasta, the bread, all that processed food that can be broken down easy, light, and absorbed like sugar. So and it ultimately breaks down to sugar. So it affects the body the same dang way, but you don't think about it like that. So from a health perspective, that one always kills me. So of course that caught me in the book, of course. I'm like, oh yeah. Okay. We don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. And you've kind of talked a little bit about that already, but what did you mean by that?
I think that's something that I will endlessly be learning more about, for the rest of my life. I think it's so easy to think that everybody sees the world in the same way that we are. And I was really struck, and I'm still struck by, the conflict going on, particularly around, something like the vaccine. I mean, we're not going to talk about it, in detail here, but I worked through with a lot of clients who were having a problem for or against with family members, disagreements. I wasn't my job to help them make a decision either way, but I wanted them to see that whatever decision they made was the decision that was right for them, and they needed to release people to make their own decisions that were right for them as well. And the fact that if they made a decision differently to yours, it wasn't personal, actually has nothing to do with you. Yet that tribal brain, I'll keep coming back to that. There's so much in that, but that tribal brain doesn't, it wants to kick you out of the tribe if you see it differently. When it comes to someone you don't know, well, what have you, but when it comes to your partner or your kids or your family members, families are being destroyed needlessly. Yes. And I think it comes back to this misunderstanding that we all have our own window that we see the world through. We all do. So what I see through is not what you see through. And if we get curious about that instead of judgmental, then we can operate and connect and come from a place of love instead of fear. And it doesn't mean that we will change. It doesn't mean we need to change, but we need to release people and everybody around us to make their own decisions. And when we do that, we keep relationships open. And then when you do that, you have much more of a chance at seeing something new, or maybe changing your mind or changing their mind. It's just such an illusion. And yeah, that was where that came from. And I think you'll find through the book, there's a lot of repeated similar themes, big themes, because they take a while. None of this stuff sinks in overnight. You can't flick a switch and just suddenly get it. It's a repeated attention that you have to look there. You have to see it, and you'll see it in different contexts. But the fundamental principles are the same. And if we understand that, we see the world as we are, not as, however it is just the way we see it. It just takes a whole lot of pressure off, don't you think?
Yes. And that's beautifully said. I 100% agree with you. And I'm working on that as well. I mean, I definitely have my beliefs, and I have very strong beliefs, and it's not going to change, but, trying to understand somebody else's perspective based on the lens they're looking through that is important, because then it can help you understand, oh, that's probably why they made that decision. That makes sense. Not that I would ever tell somebody what to do or anything like that. No, but it does help to understand why that person sees something differently than you do. Then you're like, well, it makes sense because they were raised here. They did this, they did that. They believe, they were educated here. It all matters. It all comes together for your world, the way you see things. So I think that is a very, very important concept.
It is. And I think it's not a matter that you have to change anything. I think when you're just aware that, people have their beliefs because of the experiences that they've had in life. And it's interesting how this tribal nature, that we can only be friends with people that think and see the same as us, but it really doesn't have to be like that. I think it is so limiting when we are like that. And instead just switch that to curiosity. And, even beliefs are, they're yours, but they can be tampered with, but the brain doesn't want them to be tampered with. That's
no,
the
they
whole
don't.
point. Really it doesn't. And, you might never change it. So what? That's fine. But again, that right, you deserve that. Others deserve that right as well, I guess.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Okay. Let's talk about what exactly is self-care, because you kind of mentioned that in the book too, because I think a lot of people have the illusion or the picture in their head of, a bubble bath, reading a book, watching a movie, snuggling up with slippers and pajamas or something. What really is self-care?
Okay, well, that can definitely form part of it. I mean, I love doing that stuff too.
Me too.
So my journey with codependency, or breaking free from that, really taught me, for me, what self-care was about. And self-care was about really truly believing I could be me and I was worthy by just being here. So much of our life is spent thinking that we have to justify our existence. We don't have to justify our existence. We all deserve to be here, and we all deserve to be who we are and who we want to be. Now, of course, there's a lot of stuff we've got to uncover to be truly able to step into that. But that, to me, is self-care. Things like boundaries, and really respecting my boundaries and respecting the boundaries of others. Very much a thing in codependent families. There is no boundaries, are very, very poor. So I really didn't have an understanding of what that was. I very much believed that I had to be a certain person and behave in a certain way to be loved. And that meant no boundaries, because it just meant I had to shapeshift into whoever I should be so that I was loved. And again, all innocent, as little people, love is fundamental, and we'll do whatever we can to get it. So that to me is self-care. Now, again, it's another scary thing, and it's very, very uncomfortable, but practicing boundaries, saying no, releasing, knowing that all I'm responsible for in my life is me and my reactions to things. I'm not responsible for anybody else's reaction. I'm not responsible for anybody else. Obviously, I'm a mother and I'm responsible for the fundamentals with my children. Yeah, but a big part of my parenting now is just to allow them to create their own path, not a path I want them to be on, but to walk beside them on their path and allow them to be who they want to be and make their own choices. Not always happy with the choices, and they're not choices I would make, but that's not my job to do that. And that's been a massive part of learning about what true self-care is. And then, as we said, releasing other people to be who they are, not getting brought into other people's moods, and not thinking it's my job to fix somebody when they're not in a good mood. You know how we tend to jump into, oh, what have I done? It's my fault. It's got nothing to do with you. I mean, obviously, if you have done something hurtful to somebody, you need to clean up. But we're messy. Human beings are messy, but we can clean up afterwards. So that's what true self-care is to me. I mean, it means different things to different people, but I think being free to be who I am, and that is okay, is the gift of true self-care.
And I love you don't have to justify that. because, I think we're too quick to defend ourselves with why we think a certain way, why we do certain things, why we have a certain diet lifestyle, for heaven's sakes. Goodness. You're not even allowed to have that without people coming at you for it. And then you feel it's just like this automatic reaction to defend yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
But you don't have to.
No.
You don't owe anybody justification for anything,
No, but see how you said that automatic reaction, like so much of what we do is the first responders, these first responders that are going to be not where the answers lie. So seeing that that's going to come up, that's okay. We don't have to fear that. We don't have to change it, but we don't have to respond to it. That's what we get better at. Waiting. Oh, maybe not that one. I'm just going to wait and see what else is available. That justifying thing, it's so easy on social media to get into that. And I still feel that urge sometimes when someone makes a comment, but
me too.
Yeah. I'm getting so much better at, if someone is truly curious and asks the question, I'm happy to provide what I can say and what I see around that. But if somebody actually is more, coming the other way, like wanting me to defend myself, I won't do it. I just won't answer them. I'll just leave it. I really think, our energy and what we give our time to is so well better spent on people who are really curious, not really after,
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what you say or what you do.
No.
They're not there to actually want to learn about you or whatever it is you're talking about. They're not interested. They just want to catch you up. They want to, throw shade at you, whatever. But yeah. And I've fallen in that trap. God. Because I always want to, I want to try to help. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe, no, these people, they don't care. That's not why they're there. They're there to get under your skin, period. And I'm getting better at recognizing that and, just going ahead and blocking right away because there's no point, they doesn't matter what I say. It's not going to matter to them. The other part I like what you said is the saying no. Like learning to say no. And I'm getting a lot better at that, but that's hard, right? Especially when you're one of these people who, just want to do everything and have your, foot in the door for everything. But sometimes you got to say no.
Yeah. And say no, full stop, say no without the, if you think about a classic example, you're at a party and someone offers you a piece of cake. So you have some choices there. You can eat it, you can say no, or you can say no, oh, I'm on a diet, or I don't eat that, like going to that's actually giving, you're giving away too much of your power to this person.
Yep.
Say no, thank you. And that's it. But that's actually really hard.
It is. And that's so weird. Why is that so hard? But that's how most of us are built.
We don't want to be we don't want to be rejected. We're inbuilt, it's inbuilt in us. Because if we were rejected, we died.
Right.
We, we are no different, brain or body, from the tribal hunter-gatherers, but this modern world is just, there's all these things. It's the illusion of fear coming at us all the time. And as I said, I think it's seeing the first responders. It's seeing what our habitual brain will do and seeing that, you don't have to follow it. You don't. But that's unless you do follow it.
Yeah, you do. And it's so automatic. It's like,
it's so automatic.
Oh, God, I've done that so many times, but I'm getting better.
But that's why it's not easy and it's not a quick fix. It requires a constant, and it's definitely not intuitive at first, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. Like anything, you ride a bike, you get better at it. The more energy and effort you put into it.
Yeah, it gets easier. Definitely. Okay. I think we are about, Okay. So let's do one more. How do we really go about changing unwanted habits? That's a good one to end on, right?
Yeah, but I think we've touched on so much of that as well.
We have.
Yeah. I wrote, I think that if I remember rightly, that insight, how do we go about changing unwanted habits? It's just something that I touch on quite a few times in the book.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I'm not sure if it is that insight or not, but I talk about going back to the cupboard, and I talk about a story of when I changed my kitchen around. I moved everything in different places. And for like the first week, I kept going to get my glasses from the cupboard where it was, automatically. Right. And, so you think about a habit, it's exactly what it is. You're on autopilot. You just do, because our brains are so amazing at, helping us get through our day. And, we go on autopilot, we just do it. Gradually, I stopped going to that and I started going to the new cupboard. And then out of the blue, 3 months later, I go back to the old cupboard again. And I'm like, isn't it incredible? But, that's what a habit is. You decide you want to give up something or you want to change something. Well, your brain's not going to be happy about it. Your brain's not going to instantly go, okay, then, and so it's understanding, right? Thought drives behavior. It's understanding the habitual nature of the brain. It's understanding and expecting it to take you to that habit for many, many moments, years, possibly the rest of your life. But you start to see, you don't have to act on it. You start to see, oh, that's what the brain's doing. I don't want to do that anymore. Instead, I'm going to wait. So that one of my favorite quotes, I don't know if it's in the book, but a habit is just thought without reflection. You have to build in a pause. You have to build in space between the thought and the action. If you don't do that, your brain will keep taking you to that old cupboard, and
That's
you'll
right.
be forever going there. Oh, where's the glasses? You have to be intentional. You have to build in awareness. You've got to do some work around creating a new pathway in the brain. But yeah, so, think about the brain as being awesome when you walk into the lounge room and you automatically know that thing with 4 legs is a chair. Imagine having to learn that every time you walk, like we take it for granted. It helps us so much in everything we do, but it's where it gets really, really unhelpful when it gets to the point where we feel it's controlling us and it's stopping us from living the life that we really want to live.
That's right. And if you're not aware of something, you can't change it.
Nope.
Yeah.
No. Awareness is everything, but then, I take it to the next level of awareness is only something when you do something with it, because we can have awareness and still not do anything with it.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And often that's a fear. That's just a fear, and that's an illusion that we can see past. So, yeah, everything's changeable.
Absolutely. Okay. So where can we find you?
So on my website, traceymcbeath.com.au, I have lots of free resources. You can go to access the hub from that as well. I have a shop. You can buy my book from there if you're interested. It's on Amazon as well. But yeah, I'm there. I'm on Instagram, the Health and Healing Coach. That's probably my favorite social media. I am on Facebook and LinkedIn, but my heart's in Instagram. I have so much fun.
I agree.
I have so much fun. I've recently, as you might have seen, gotten into the reels. It's just so fun. You know what? We just got to do things that are fun. I agree. Try and building fun, and that's what I do there. So yeah. With a little message as well.
Heck yeah. Okay, well, cool. I'll have everything below, so no worries. And hey, while y'all are here, subscribe to my channel and then go follow Tracey. And Tracey, thank you so much for coming back on and giving us an update and telling us about everything you're doing now. I'm so excited for you, and I can't wait to see more. And I don't know, maybe you might just be seeing me in that coaching class at some point. So sounds pretty exciting.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much, Amber. I love the work you do. I love our connection, and thanks so much for having me back on.
Absolutely. Love you, Tracey.
Bye, darling.
Bye.